The Earth does not orbit the Sun. Hear me out. Back in school, we were all taught that the Moon orbits around the Earth and the Earth orbits around the Sun. But technically, this isn't exactly true. When you have two objects in space, it's not as simple as saying one orbits the other. In reality, both of these objects will orbit around their common center of mass. Let's look at a couple of examples. So in scenario 1, if you have a satellite orbiting the Earth is so much bigger than the satellite that the center of mass between the two, so the point that they both orbit, is essentially just the center of the Earth. In scenario 2, however, if you have two equally sized stars, they both orbit around their common center of mass, which will be somewhere about halfway between the two stars. We call this point, the center of mass, the barycenter. Okay, so why does this mean the Earth is not orbiting the Sun? The Sun accounts for 99.86% of all of the mass in the solar system, so surely the solar system's barycenter, the center of mass, is just inside the Sun. Well, actually, no. Most of the time, it is not. That is because even though the other planets make up only 0.14% of the mass of the solar system, mostly Jupiter and Saturn, these outer planets are far enough away from the Sun that it actually pulls the solar system's barycenter away from the Sun's interior. This diagram here shows the evolution of the solar system's barycenter from the year 2000 to the year 2027. And you can see for most of this time, the point that all of the planets in the solar system orbit around is not inside the Sun. The planets are orbiting around sort of an invisible point outside of the Sun's surface. The Sun is also orbiting around this point, which means when this location is outside of the Sun is wobbling around the center of mass of the solar system, even though there isn't physically anything there. And this wobbling of the Sun is actually one of the main ways that we detect planets orbiting around other stars. We can detect this wobble of other stars elsewhere in the galaxy, and that tells us that there are indeed planets orbiting around those stars, and can even go as far as telling us the distance, the orbital period, and the size of those planets as well. So there you go. Technically, the Earth does not orbit around the Sun, but it orbits around the solar system's center of mass, which is somewhere near the Sun, but not always inside the Sun itself.